So I'm sitting out on my front porch on this beautiful fall afternoon, almost done with my coffee. We are on a little break. All my kids are playing. My boys just went riding bikes. My 3 youngest are playing outside in the backyard. And I took a moment to just relax out here on this beautiful day and have some coffee. I thought it might be interesting to share with you what morning time actually ends up looking like. Although I don't really want to film our morning time, I thought I could go through with you how messy my table is, how messy my kitchen is right now, and what we've actually done together. So if you're new here, I am homeschooling all of my kids ages 3 through almost 16. And I share a lot of like monthly goals and recap videos and share what we're using and what our plans are and what we've done. And I shared a week in the life recently, which I think some people found really helpful. I share over on Instagram, but I get a lot of questions about like, what does this actually end up looking like? What do you actually do for morning time? And like I said, well, I don't think I'm going to film our morning time. I'm going to go through with you what we actually got through today, what we did, and I feel like that might be helpful for some of you. It is H week for us. It is Monday. We were away all weekend, so I did not set up our playroom. Our playroom's a mess. It needs to be cleaned and reset for the new week. Usually, if you've been around, you know I do my chalk wall for the letter of the week and the scripture of the week. I swap out some books. I swap out the learning shelf. I clean and kind of like rotate the wooden play gym that's in there and all of those things. And I did not do any of that. And so I really just started prepping for this week this morning. So let me show you what we did. Okay, so I came into these guys getting themselves some lunch, which I'm actually pretty proud of. This was leftovers from yesterday's dinner. So they're having some soup. Good job, Gia. Kitchen counter is a messy conglomerate of morning tea time, elderberries, our natural cleaner that we made last week, and you know, all the things. This is pretty weird what we have going on here, but is it too hot?
No, I put it in my hand right now.
Okay, do you need to sit down at the counter? Okay, and this is what the table looks like. So, like I said, it is H week. We are not following a strict curriculum, but we have been using the Peaceful Press to guide some of our activities and for some of their printables. Today, like I said, is a Monday, so we were just starting on H. But before I get to that, I'll tell you how we started. So how we started today for our morning time is we reviewed last week's before I put them away. So we've been doing these cards from Pippin J. Papery to go along with our letter of the week. This is our memory verse for the week. We are trying to memorize it, but also understand it and talk about it. So we went over this. First I saw like who remembers what it was, and then also went over our character trait from last week, which is gratefulness, and I chose it just because it started with a G. And then we went over that and also thought about like reflected on together, how did we do with focusing on, no more honey. How did we do with focusing on gratefulness last week? So I'll put these away when I'm cleaning up the table. These are actually our read alouds that we'll do when we regather. So we have On the Banks of Plum Creek from our Playful Pioneers. We have October, which we're reading, and then we're going through this Bear Grylls book. So the next thing I did is I introduced the letter of the week, and we went over the scripture of the week. We also added in, because the Peaceful Press also has scriptures to go along with each letter. So we've been doing 2 since last week. So we also did this one, which is a review for us because we did this a couple months ago. But we're also focusing on house and home as part of our H week. So that kind of works out. So like I said, we're doing Peaceful Preschool loosely and kind of following what I want to do. I love how it gives you like a book list and scriptures, and it does give you day by day instructions if you want to follow it completely, but that's just not how we do it. Like this goes along with the book Harold and the Purple Crayon, but we don't have that. Not sure I'm going to get it, so we may do something different with our H's this week. So, like I said, we went over those 2 verses, and then we have 2 character traits that we're focusing on this week. Honesty and helpfulness both start with an H. These are from September & Co. If you're interested, we really love these. We just cycle through them. So we went over these, and then they got to choose which scripture really resonated with them the most, whether it was this one or the one from here or one of the ones from the back of our character trait cards, and then they did copy work. So my 12-year-old was working on his cursive, and so he's using this as a guide. This is just his cursive copy work, or just his handwriting from The Good and the Beautiful. Just got all these billion notebooks. My 8-year-old did hers in print. She chose the Mark scripture, and then I'll have to see what my 15-year-old chose. And then my 4-year-old wanted to follow with like making the lines from this stencil and cursive, so I thought that was really cute. And then him and my 3-year-old also worked on these sheets. These are from For the Love of Homeschooling. They came in the A to Z learning packs. I'll try to link them down below. I am not heavy on worksheets or curriculum for this age, but I like to have it available in case they want to do it. They're never forced to do it. But I thought it was really cute because while they were doing this, and he was like almost done, he said he was over it basically. He said he's going to finish this later. I said, great. And then he said, do you have anything I could cut and paste? And so this is where the child-led part comes in. I was not going to do this today, but this is from my slow down guide. I had the harvest mouse activity from my slow down guide. So I pulled it out and he cut out like the harvest mice. And because he wanted to do that, I kind of added in to our morning time the readings that go along with it from both the newer one and the original, because there's like harvest mouse building a nest and harvest mouse hunting for food. And then these are the H's that he can paste these things into in his notebook. So I'll share later if he ends up doing that. But we didn't do that right away. What we did next after going over our letter of the week, our scriptures of the week, and our copy work is, where is it? We did a new hymn from Then Sings My Soul. So Playful Pioneers, which we've jumped back into recently, does have a monthly hymn. But after a while, they get a little bit bored with it. And then when that happens, we jump back into this book. And I like it because it gives this really cool history of the author and the hymn itself. And then we just talked about it. Sometimes you listen to it, sometimes you look it up, and it's so hard to listen to because it's such a bad recording like today, that we just read through the lyrics and just sometimes sing it if we know the melody, or we just talk about it. And today we mostly just talked about it, but it was really interesting, and even my older kids really loved it. That is a muskox, right? Okay, so after that, we jumped into this book, which we just started today, which was Wonderful, Ancient Psalms Ever New. This was really precious. We just kind of did the introduction, which is like the start of a story about this boy and his grandfather and redemption. And then we read this Welcome to Psalms. And then tomorrow we will start with our first psalm that we'll look at. And we'll do some like illustrated copy work and things like that. This is from the same author of the Ology, and the Ology we just finished up because that was the Bible aspect in Playful Pioneers. If you can see, every day it would tell you to read it, and then it moves on to the Jesus Storybook Bible. And instead, because we're already going through their keepsake Bible for like going through the Bible, I decided to go with this since it kind of is similar to the Ology. So we just started that today for our kind of devotional time. And then, so where we are in Playful Pioneers, we're kind of like off a day, which is totally fine. This would have been like Thursday of last week, technically. And so we finished that. So we did do that part of it. We need to read chapters 9 and 10 of On the Banks of Plum Creek. And so we will do that when we regather later this afternoon. And then we'll read the poem, The Lake Isle of Innisfree. We did read this before. We are not doing this picture book read aloud, but what we are going to do in place of that is this book, If You Lived Here, Houses of the World. And I got this because we thought it'd be really interesting for all of my different age kids, and it ties in with the idea of H and home for H week. So we'll probably just do a few pages of this a day throughout the week, but I feel like this is a great example of something that suits all different age levels and will meet them where they are. So architecture and history and culture and geography for the older kids. And then obviously the younger kids will enjoy the illustrations and talking about what they notice and things like that. So everything that I explained up until the If You Lived Here book is stuff that we actually got to during our morning time. And I realized it was going kind of long, which is totally fine if it's working out. But I feel like I was starting to lose them a little bit. Like they weren't misbehaving, which can happen sometimes. They just seemed like they were kind of like starting to zone out. So I was kind of getting sick of reading, if I'm honest. Like I love our morning time, but sometimes I'm like, whoa, I talked a lot. So I said, do we want to start our picture book read aloud, or do we want to take a break and then just do this when we do our chapter book read alouds? And they said, take a break. So that is where we are at. Maybe I will update you guys with more after our afternoon time and independent work. And yeah, I will let them finish their lunch. I'll clean up the table a little bit after I sit here for a few more minutes now that I'm back out here. And then I will do some independent work, probably with my 8-year-old. While my boys are finishing up their bike ride, I told them they had to be back by a certain time. Then they'll start their independent work. And then we'll do our chapter book read alouds together. And then my 8-year-old has gymnastics. And it's my husband's birthday. So we'll be celebrating him tonight. So I came in to find my little guy washing the windows, which is kind of his thing lately. It has been for a while. I did successfully clean off the counter at least, and my youngest 3 are now on to making cards for my husband's birthday, and they're super into it. They put the little mice in the card instead of in the H for their notebooking, which is fine. But while they're doing that, I'm going to get this table cleaned up before we move on to our next thing. All right, you guys, so we are going to do read alouds outside because it's beautiful out, and I did bring out a little salt tray activity for my 3 and 4-year-old in case they wanted to do their finger tracing in the salt for their H's. So I'm grabbing a little picnic table off of the skate ramp back here. Don't ask me why it was here. Who knows? It's kind of cute though. So yeah, there's a little update on what we're doing next. We're going to do our read alouds together, and then I'll have people do independent work. We haven't really done independent work yet today. Sometimes it happens like before we regather for read aloud, and sometimes it happens after. It just depends on the way the day goes. So I'll show you what we're gonna do out here. Okay, so they just have their simple little salt tray for them to go through and finger trace their H's, uppercase and lowercase in both print and cursive, if they're interested. And it's great because I don't have to worry about salt outside as much as I do inside. And then for our read alouds, we are going to be doing, we're going to start with this, like I showed you earlier. We're just going to read a few pages. Then we are likely going to do a few pages in here. We've been doing a few pages of this a day the last few days that we did read alouds, because this is one of our chapter book read alouds and an owl is a main part of it. And so we're learning a little bit more about owls as we read October. Then we'll read a chapter or 2 from On the Banks of Plum Creek. This is our read aloud that goes along with Playful Pioneers. And then we'll read a page or 2 in this survival unit study from the Waldock Way, which I've shared a few times. And we'll read a chapter or 2 in this Mountain Challenge book. And then that will be it for our time together. They may have a little break before doing independent work, or if they want to just get started on it, which sometimes they do, especially my older boys, they will get started then. Also, I just ran in to tell them to come out, and I grabbed a few little snacks because it seems like they get busy playing and they forget to have a snack, and as soon as we sit down, they're like, I'm hungry, can I get a snack? So, I got ahead of them on it today. Oh, and when I remember to, like to bring our binoculars out so that if birds fly by or something, they can bird watch a little bit. So my 3 and 4-year-old have been loving using this CVC e-board from Jack and Link Toys as a salt tray, and it's been perfect for the cards that come with the Peaceful Press. And if you've been around lately, I've mentioned a couple times that my 4-year-old is insistent upon learning his cursive. So having the print and the cursive there on this tray actually fits perfect. So they're just going to do this for as long as they're interested while I read aloud to everyone, and then I'm sure they will run off to play at some point. So I hope you guys enjoyed just getting a little bit of a look into how these things actually play out, what it looks like, what an actual morning time and kind of read aloud time looks like in our family, what a typical day sort of looks like without being a full day in the life. Let me know if you found this helpful in the comments. If you have any questions, you can put those down in the comments as well. I hope to see you guys soon in one of my next videos. And until next time, stay rooted.